welcome back to a special edition of Tux Traveler. The channel is still on a hiatus for a period of time. However, I wanted to go ahead and do a special video today because today marks the start of the third full year of van life, and I wanted to show you just a little bit about where all I have been. And the fascinating thing is that I still kept up maintaining the different YouTube channels, including my big tech channel where we do live streams and tech stuff, even still from the van, from these locations. So on the screen is going to be a 15 or 16 minute or so slideshow just indicating the places I have been. And I'm going to give you just a little bit of a rundown, and I'll just pinpoint a couple of these locations as they appear on the screen. But I have been in over 40 states with my van that you see right there, and this one is in White Sands, New Mexico. And of course I did make it down to the oceans down there, the Gulf Coast here, and into swamplands with alligator infested lakes here in Alabama, I think. But the thing is that being out on the road enabled me to see a lot of different things. I saw for the first time carnivorous plants in their natural habitat. I saw ocean coasts. I was on the Pacific Ocean. I was on the Atlantic Ocean, the Gulf of Mexico. We saw all sorts of critters like this little knoll, which was at Congaree National Park in South Carolina. And also this waterfall, probably the only interesting thing I remember from Shenandoah National Park in Virginia. We did take some trips up to Maine, which is where this one's coming from. And this is one of the few sandy beaches on the Atlantic coast, way, way up north in Maine, not too far from Quoddy Head, which is right here, the easternmost part of the United States, which is home to these naturally occurring carnivorous plants, these ones being American pitchers. I almost skipped the Voyageurs National Park, and I'm glad I didn't, because the night I went there, we saw some amazing pictures of the Aurora Borealis, where I was able to hone my skills with night photography even further. I'm so glad I took the time to learn how to do night photography prior to that night so I could get some good, compelling images of the Aurora Borealis with stars in the background. This one here is a beautiful sunset in Parker, Arizona. Technically, I was in the California side at Quiet BLM. And that was just one of the many places where I spent several weeks getting a chance to get down and just see the sights and spend some time in the desert and slow down. I actually saw live tarantulas for the first time in the wild. It was totally awesome. This is Rock Springs, Wyoming. There's a nice little spot in town there. You can kind of get out, and actually just a little bit north of town is Boar's Tusk. This was an old volcano, and I hiked up to the top of that little volcano and got a chance to see the van. This is actually some of the Kilpecker sand dunes with a volcano in the background. From Rock Springs, I headed south on, I think it's 789. Don't quote me on the exact road. This leads us to Flaming Gorge, and then over into Dinosaur National Monument, which is where this amazing picture is taken. I had some ramen noodles over that cliff, enjoying the day. Then I head on over to this spot, which I forget where that one is. It's just too beautiful, though. I think that was Colorado National Monument, probably. This is Black Canyon of the Gunnison in Colorado. So I got a chance to experiment. It's been a great learning experience. Now, many people who jump on into van life only end up staying in it for a few months. They'll stay 3, maybe 6 months and then realize, van life is hard. And it is. It's not something that is super easy. It's not something that you get into and you just say, I have reached my goal. It is hard work. Now, there are advantages, there are disadvantages, just like everything else in the world. There are some challenges. You have some unique challenges, and you have some challenges that are all the same. Got to pay your bills, got to figure out how to get your mail and stuff like that. You got to entertain the kitty to amazing sights outside. This is at Bryce Canyon. The kitty's out there looking out the window going, where are we at? Because this is so amazing. I wanted to look out the window too. One of my favorite national parks there, Bryce Canyon. From there, I actually head over the pass, went down just south of Cedar City and saw these petroglyphs over there. And got a chance to head even further down the next day down to Zion National Park. If you go to Zion, make sure you go in like December. It's one of the only times of the year you can drive your own car to the back of the park, although you got to get there super early in the morning. So I did travel through some cities, not my favorite thing to do, but this was my trip into Las Vegas. I had to take care of a few errands in there. Of course, I usually like being in deserts like this one. This is Fossil Lake, California, where we saw this nice full field rainbow coming over. And also this, where we actually saw the exact snow line coming down. It was totally amazing. This is actually north of Los Angeles. Literally, you can almost see it there, but that's a giant interstate. And there's bobcats. And the bobcat saw my cat, and they stared at each other down. And then the second cat jumped off of the bobcats. Like, there's two of them. I got to get out of here. And I did spend a lot of time in Arizona, one of my favorite places. That is Oregon Cactus Pipe down there, and then back to White Sands. This is probably the best of the national parks. Just get out there and just see nothing but white. And if you visit White Sands, make sure that you stay to watch the sunset in the dunes. This is not too far from Roswell. Of course, I did want to go take my tinfoil hat out and see the aliens. Got a chance to tour the Alien Museum, which was totally awesome. And after there, I escaped the snow that was coming into Texas and went on down to Bryant Beach, which is where these photos are taken, where you can drive out and camp on this beach for 2 weeks, all completely free. I went over to Rutherford Beach in Louisiana, and that's where this is hermit crab nirvana, apparently, because the whole shore is nothing but that. I did get a chance to get down into the south and saw some of the more bayou-type lands, camp in the alligator-infested areas. Just got to be really careful down there near the water, but I did get a chance to see some things. Here's yet another trip into the city. This is the Star, the famous Star in Roanoke, right up close, right next to it. And then, of course, we had to get out there and do a little bit of extra hiking. This one's actually in Pennsylvania, and this one is, I believe this is up in White Mountain, Vermont, I believe is where that is. Maybe it's New Hampshire. I think that's White Mountain, New Hampshire. So we did get a chance to, as I said, travel 40 different states. I've done a deep northern loop, and I came back. The second loop, I came back through the Midwest since it was a very mild winter. Got a chance to see Arkansas, the hot springs over there, and really just got a chance to enjoy just all the scenery in the parks, around the edges. I saw the northern part of the country. I went out to this first trip here is up in the upper peninsula of Michigan, which that's the Mackinac Bridge there, the longest bridge in the United States right now. And we did get a chance to see some waterfalls back there in the northern shores. This one, I believe this is the Painted Shores in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Canada would be across from the shore. And this is Voyageurs National Park, place of millions and millions of lakes. Those are actually wild rice fields right there. Shot across North Dakota, got a chance to see the world's largest buffalo in Jamestown, and then the world's largest crane not too far from there. Stay tuned. Eventually, you will see a giant roadrunner made out of garbage in Arizona, but we'll get there soon enough. So I did get a chance to get out into the northern plains of North Dakota, where I almost got bit by this giant rattlesnake. That is a 4-footer, and he rattled at me. Good thing I was fumbling with my headphones. Good thing I didn't get them in. About a minute later, I'd have been dead. And that was on the way to those petrified rocks there. And then, of course, I left North Dakota, shot over to see Glacier National Park. These photos here are taken in Glacier. Some beautiful streams, so amazing that you can almost just want to get down and drink right out of them. I'm not sure you can, but the water does look clean enough to do so. Be neat to test it. So I did actually leave there, headed over to the Cascades, and this is the North Cascades in Washington. Beautiful place. Of course, I did drive through a few forest fires. This one is the forest fires in Cascades as I was up there. And then, of course, I just head a little bit south and more towards the Pacific coast. And then you get out here to the rainforests near Mount Rainier. Here is Mount Rainier in the background on one of the glacier rock beds. And this place here has a perpetual rainbow as that waterfall goes down, opening up to the southern sun. I hiked about a quarter or maybe a third of the way up Mount Rainier, up these beautiful, beautiful meadows where you can just look down and see land for miles upon miles. The clouds eventually did clear. Got just a little shot there of Mount Rainier. You can see all the permaglaciers on it. And then, of course, I went through Olympic National Park and found the Elven Throne. Apparently, you got to watch out over there. Here's the world's largest spruce tree. That is an amazing photo. And no, it's not one of sequoias. That is literally just a spruce. Okay. And also around Olympic National Park, we did see a few of these cairns out there by some rivers. And then the park does branch some of the ocean coast. So I went down through some of the ocean coast through Washington and Oregon. Got a chance to really see some of these amazing pools, just these things that they're just right out of the amazing photos. And just the fact that the pictures here don't do justice. I was here. I was touching these starfish. It was awesome. Of course, I drove through the Cedar Creek forest fire to get to Crater Lake. And then from there, I went on south into the Redwood National Park, the coastal redwoods, which is a national and a state park combined together. Got a chance to see some of the giant trees. Not quite as impressive as the sequoias. I was at the sequoias years ago. I haven't been back there in a while. But from here, I went down south into California, and these photos are actually not taken at Yellowstone. These are at Lassen National Park, which is still an active volcano, and it erupted only about 100 years ago. I left from there, went down south for the wintertime. This is in the Joshua Tree BLM land. You can stay there for 2 weeks for free, just north of Joshua Tree National Park. And of course, I left those areas and went on over to Parker, which was one of my favorite places for this year. At Parker, I stayed here a little bit longer than you were supposed to, but it was okay. Other people were there longer than me, and there were not exactly a lot of people coming by looking for spots. But I did get a chance to take these amazing photos out there in the desert, including seeing my very first ever live tarantula in the wild. I've seen live tarantulas before, but never in the wild. Left Parker, went on down to Quartzsite for a few days. This is their busy season, so it's completely full. And then from there, I left Quartzsite and went on over to one of my favorite places. This is Ironwood National Monument over there in Arizona. This is their now Indian bread, leaving that, staying along the southern coast, and then you get on over to the Roadrunner I promised you, made out of garbage. Yes, those are crutches and computer keyboards. I did encounter some illegal aliens over by El Paso. This is the alien spacecraft. And then I head on up to the Guadalupe Mountains, where I had to stop because we got 4 inches of snow. Fortunately, I stopped at a rest area right at the top there, and then just decided in the morning the weather was nice enough. I backtracked into the Guadalupe Mountains, and I hiked through the mountains while it was still dark. I went up north, had to camp for a week because Carlsbad Caverns, which is where these ones are from, was closed for a week to do some stuff. I didn't realize this, but it was perfect because I got a chance to stop at a BLM ground and not move for a whole week. Got a lot of work done. Did Carlsbad Cavern, hightailed it down, and went on down to Big Bend National Park, where I soaked in the Rio Grande River right on the Mexican border. You know, back when the river's only a foot deep and 15 feet wide. But then I left there, head on up to some other spots. This is actually a golf frisbee course in Johnson Park in Texas. And then this is Miller's Reservoir, also in Texas. Beautiful, beautiful places to catch some amazing, amazing sunsets. This is just over a lake and a ravine before heading up north into Arkansas. Like I said, Arkansas, I did the Arkansas, Oklahoma, and through the Tennessee route this year because it was a mild winter. Last year was much worse, and so I stayed on the Gulf Coast. This year I went up through the central United States, where I got a chance to see this amazing scenery here, which is a cypress break on the Mississippi River. Left there, went over to some of the various Chattanooga River spots, several BLM lands over there you can camp out for a while. So I stayed there, saw this tree carving its way through a canyon, and then I decided to leave there as I had a conference coming up. So I head on over into North Carolina, where these photos were taken at some BLM land out there. Stayed out there for a little bit while I got ready to head on over to South Carolina, where my conference was. After that, I did want to see the Smoky Mountains, so I went over and detoured up to the Smoky Mountains, met up with some friends over there, hi, and then head on up to Pennsylvania, where these are taken at Jake's Rocks in Pennsylvania. One of the few national forests, basically one of the few BLM places there are. Just pull over on that side of the road and see these beautiful spots. And I believe this is the Allegheny River, if I remember. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's the Allegheny. And then, of course, this photo here got dropped in there at the very end. And that was a photo of the salmon jumping the creeks up at up in Washington, up at the Olympic National Park. So that has been my couple year journey. This begins year 3. I'm not slowing down anytime soon. I'm not sure if I'm going to come back and do any regular updates on this channel, just because, you know, other priorities have to take into effect. I only have so much time in a day. But I do thank you guys for watching, and let me know any thoughts here. I do actually check the comments, though, once a week. So please leave any comments. I will get back to those. Thank you for watching, and we will see you a little bit further down the road.